practices that we can do to bring ourselves into the present moment is to connect in with our sensory experience, especially our sensory experience of our physical body, which so many of us have been trained out of by a hyper cognitive focused society. So I often ask folks, how are you feeling in your body? Or how does that feel in your body? And a lot of times people answer with like, I don't know, I don't feel anything in my body, right? I think this is actually why so many of us experience so much pain, because the body is trying to get our attention in the best way it knows how. So, when we are trying to connect in with this experience with our physical sensations, it can be helpful just to go through chunks of our body and start to notice very slowly in those small areas if there's any sensation. So, for example, you could start with your head, and I might just sit quietly for a moment and notice, what do I feel in my head? So right now I feel a little bit of pressure in this ear, and I feel that pressure go into this temple. I feel some awareness in my eyes of the overhead light. It's not my favorite. And that's pretty much what I'm feeling in my head. Now I'm going to go to my throat. I feel a little bit of scratchiness or dryness right here in my throat. And I feel some tension along this area. As I go to my shoulders and my neck. Now down my arms. Feel pain in my hand where it's resting and holding the phone. And some tension in this muscle also from holding the phone. Now I'm going to go to my chest. I don't feel anything in my chest. But you can see that's my vagus nerve. When I yawned, it's going, oh, thank you for paying attention to us and to the present moment. Okay, now I'm coming down to my abdomen. And I had like a new smoothie type thing this morning, and my stomach feels a little off from it. So I feel that. A little bit of nausea. Another yawn. Now I'm going into my hips. I feel something in my right hip. I wouldn't call it tension, but I would just call it like maybe it feels like it's a little bit out of alignment. Then I'm going to go into my upper legs. I'm feeling some tension in my like low back. You can really see that my vagus nerve is loving this. So my ears are starting to crackle. And I'm having a lot more yawns and deep breaths. Nothing in my knees. I'm going down to my shins and calves. I have some tension in my shin on my right side and some slight pain in my right ankle and in my feet. Yeah, and along the like extending from my shin down to my top of my right foot. And then this hip is sort of rearranging itself. So what I am beginning to give myself opportunity to do is to move my body out of some of the positioning that it was in, that I was not aware was putting maybe pressure or imbalances or discomfort. And then I'm also giving myself the opportunity to take some more natural breaths. I may have been holding my breath, and that vagus nerve got me doing some yawning and some moving around of my jaw. So this brings us into the present moment. It helps our body to sort of like resituate. It can also give us the opportunity to show some loving attention to these parts of our body. So like I'm noticing, I wouldn't have been able to tell you before we started this that I was having a little bit of pain in my lower back. So I may give myself later today some loving attention towards my lower back, maybe put my feet up on the wall. And the connection in with the body can also open us up to things like acknowledging, that realizing that this smoothie is maybe not the best, which I may not have brought my attention to. Noticing what things our body likes, what things our body wants more of, wants less of. Noticing when we're tired, we may need to rest. Noticing if we're hungry or thirsty. Noticing if certain environments, how they affect our body, certain relationships, certain experiences, and it can help you to begin to fine tune. And there's a burp, so that digestion is kicking in. It can help you to begin to fine tune what is right for you and your system. And that way the nervous system and the body can be an incredible guidance system. And in our culture, we've been so trained to be in the cognition for so much of the day that we miss all of these cues. And the vagus nerve is processing millions of bits of information per second, while the brain is only doing thousands. So when we tune into what the body is experiencing, we can get access to so much more information and bring a lot of that subconscious into the conscious. So starting with this very simple question of how is my body feeling can open us up in the big scale to connecting in with our consciousness, which gives us access to aligning more with what we're creating in our reality. All the talk about manifestation can be misleading, because manifesting is something that we are always doing, right? It's just where are we manifesting from? So when we manifest from a place of unconscious and from a place of fear, then we will manifest things that resonate on that frequency. And when we manifest from a place of more consciousness and connection with our own capacity, what's right for us, what we feel clear about, we can manifest things that resonate on that frequency. So manifestation is not really a woo-woo thing. It's more of it just reflects what's happening in our nervous system. So, for example, if you were feeling really discouraged and like really exhausted and hot, and someone handed you a glass of like lukewarm water, or warm water, you might be disappointed, because it would be like warm water, But if you were freezing and someone handed you some warm water, you'd be so grateful. So our environment becomes less about the reality of the environment and more about the experience of the nervous system and how the nervous system's perceiving it, right? So this practice of asking how you feel in your body can go all the way from just like physical, very material world to these more like what are seemingly woo-woo concepts, which ultimately, energetics are material as well. So ultimately, none of it is woo-woo, all of it's material, but we like to perceive them as super different. But the nervous system stuff goes all the way across all of that, which is really interesting, and can start with something so simple as, how is my body feeling? So I encourage you to ask that question, to begin to explore it, to begin to get to know your body and its sensations, and that can lead us eventually to seeing what would be supportive for our body. And then when we support our body, we can start to understand what these signals mean, and spend less time in the confusion of everything's always wrong, and connect in more with that these so-called wrong things or problems are just information, and they're giving us sort of like those bumps on the road when you're driving, and it just sort of tells you, like, it starts to get real bumpy, and then you're like, oh, I'm going off the road. Thank you so much for that information. Okay, try it out. Let me know what you think, and sending you lots of love.